So when all the trailers before the movie started showing clips for Chucky, New Mutants, and Annabelle Comes Home, I kinda got a bit of an idea that this is gonna be a messed up movie. And boy, was I right. Let's get into it. So Brightburn is about a baby who crashes in a spaceship onto a farm in Kansas. His parents then raise him, and once he hits around the age 12, he discovers that he's got superhuman powers. And you're probably thinking, hey, that sounds a lot like the Superman story, and you would be 100% correct. This film takes the premise of Superman and its origin story and flips it on its head, kind of like those Elseworld stories they do in the comics for DC. But before we get into it, let me just clarify that this actually isn't anything to do with Superman, DC, all that things. They've just kind of taken the premise and done enough to it that they can't get done for copyright infringement. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, this movie was messed up. And when I say messed up, I mean gory, violent. This was intense. It's basically about what would happen if a kid had the powers of Superman, but instead of wanting to save humanity and be a good sport all round, he decides he's more superior than them all, and certain people need to suffer. And so now it started off quite slow, establishing and setting up a few key points and details, for the film. But let me tell you, once this film gets started, it takes a hard right turn and it gets intense. And I'm going to use the word intense a lot because that's really the best way to describe it. It's an intense film. Okay, so let's start with the good. The acting by Jackson A. Dunn, this guy right here, the kid. Jackson has this real intense, there it is again, real intense energy. But he still had that smug attitude that a kid would have if he had these crazy powers, no conscience, and he knew that there was nothing anybody could do to stop him. Because this kid discovers that he has these crazy powers, and if you're just a little bit of a psychopath and a bit manipulative, like this kid is, that cannot be good. Elizabeth Banks. She plays the mum in the film, and I'd really like to see her in some more intense dramas. Because as a mum who loves her son so dearly and yet fears him at the same time, that's some intense stuff, and that brought for some great dynamics between the characters. This film had a captivating story and really kept me gripped the whole time. And this movie was made for a tiny budget. It was made from somewhere between $6 and $7 million, which compared to not just superhero films, but most films in general, that's a tiny budget. And yes, it shows in some places. It didn't have that grand epic scale of a Superman movie, or a Thor movie, or even a Shazam movie, to be honest. But although you could tell that, it really did play in its favor. Because this really isn't a superhero movie. Yes, it has superhuman aspects to it, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it's really a thriller with a little bit of horror and gore mixed in there. And as they say with most horrors, it's what you don't see that can really be the scariest parts of the film. And also, with so many superhero movies coming out all the time, and don't get me wrong, you know I love a good superhero movie. But with so many superhero movies coming out all the time, it's nice to see them take the genre and really spin it on its head. Spin it on its head? Flip it on its head? Let me know down below in the comments. I think it's flip it on its head. Flip it. Yeah, flip it on its head. Now, I don't really have much negative to say about the film. Yeah, it has some little bits and pieces here and there, but really all I have to say is more if they make a sequel, and I really hope they make a sequel. And so if they make one, I'd really like to see them expand on the character and expand on the mythology of it. They don't really explain where he comes from or anything like that. You know what, I've changed my mind. I don't actually think they need to go into that. What I would like to see though is I'd like to see them grow and expand to make it more of a larger scale. Because in the film, it really only focuses on a small town, and with the powers that he has and the motivation that he has in the film, which I can't really give away, you're kind of expecting from where the film ends that there's more to the story. And I'm not saying necessarily make it a much bigger budget, I'm just saying I think there's more story to tell, and this was more of a origin setup story, I guess. And the ending was kind of more left to interpretation. I'd also like to give a shout out to James Gunn, who produced it, and the man who directed it, which was David Yarovosky. You know what, I really got to start watching interviews before I do these to hear the actual actors, producers, directors say the name. Regardless, the reason I say James Gunn foremost is because the directors only really made one film, which was with James Gunn. And so although James Gunn was only a producer on it, I do think he was kind of giving him little helping hand steps on the way. And that's no disrespect to David. That's just more of, I think it was more of a communal effort. Okay, so let's quickly get to the rating. For the quality of the film, I'm going to give it a 7. It was pretty solid. As for my enjoyment, I'd go an 8. Mainly because it's a horror movie and a superhero movie, and they're really my two favorite genres out there. So to see them combine, pretty cool. But don't take anyone off their squeamish, because this is a gory film. This is like up there in a gory film. Okay, so thank you so much guys for watching. If you haven't checked it out, my Aladdin review came out yesterday. I'm gonna link it down below. Also, within the next week, I'm gonna be doing a bunch of new videos, including a look forward, which is gonna look forward at all the movies coming out in June. We're gonna put them up into a nice little package, post that on YouTube for you guys. It's gonna be great for you guys to see. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. And if you haven't yet, make sure you give this a like. And if you want more movie news, or just things going on in my life, make sure you follow me on Instagram. It's just tagged down below. Thank you so much guys for watching. And as always, work hard and be lucky.